A Clearer View on Love is a relationships podcast for women with clarity coaches Lucy Bainbridge and Joe Monday, helping you be your true self in all your romantic interactions.
So hello, welcome to the fourth edition of A Clearer View on Love. This is me and Joe Monday talking about relationships and all the different things that come up within them. So one of our readers has written in about her situation with her boyfriend, her new partner, and it's kind of the typical, we were on a real high at the beginning and we were looking forward to moving in together, and now we've moved in together, like it isn't all that it was cracked up to be or what we thought it was going to be. And now it's like we're here and we're kind of stuck in a rut, and she's having problems at work and coming home and venting about it. They're kind of in a state where they're a bit neutral, like everything's a bit flat. I've definitely been there in my life where I've been absolutely in ecstasy with a guy, like totally over, like intoxicated with happiness in the beginning of a relationship, and then it starts to dumb down. And it's not that you don't love each other the same, it's just that pure, it's kind of like a drug. It's like it kind of it overwhelms you at the beginning, and then it starts to dumb down and life starts to become normal and you get used to the relationship, and you kind of want that feeling back. So let me pass you over to Joe first. Have you experienced something like this before, Joe?
Yeah, I think I can definitely relate to the whole thing about being stuck in a rut, and when it's feeling a bit flat, the kind of temptation is getting into that I'll be happy when mindset that we've talked about before. So in this example, it was I'll be happy when, or we'll be happy when we move to a better flat because we're living in this cramped flat. And also I'll be happy when certain criteria are ticked with my boyfriend, or my boyfriend's doing a certain thing or behaving in a certain way. And all we're ever doing is chasing a feeling. Really, that's what we actually really want to do, is have a feeling of connection and love with the other person. But that feeling is actually way closer than we think and isn't on the horizon, isn't like out there as some kind of like target, some kind of remote target for us to get. It's kind of that feeling that was there when you met him is still very much accessible to you. Just because you can't see it right now doesn't mean it's not there in every moment that's available to you. And a feeling of I'll be happy when this happens, that happens, is delaying something that is available to you and really just under the surface, when you can let go of the crazy thinking that's going on that will keep you in this illusion that things are unhappy or you need to change things in your life to get there.
Yeah, that's it, exactly that. When you were talking, it came up again, it's that actually when she was feeling happy in this flat, like when they were like waiting to move into this flat and they were deliriously happy, they thought the happiness was coming from some way, coming from the future situation when they're going to be in the flat, and the excitement of having a new house or a new thing. And we can all relate to that in any circumstance. We get a new job, or we become into a new relationship, or we start anything new. We have expectations of how it's going to feel, and we get excited, and we think the excitement is coming from that place. Like it's got something to do with the next thing, but the excitement is just coming from our thinking in that moment. So when you were happy with your boyfriend, that was that moment. That was coming through your perception of the situation and your thinking in that moment. It never had anything to do with the fact that you were moving into a flat. It just happened to be that you were happy. And the reason why it's difficult, well, not difficult, it's dangerous to attach like the flat to that feeling of happiness in the beginning, is that then when the flat comes and you don't feel better, you're now looking for something else because, oh, it's no longer the flat didn't do it for me. But it never did it in the first place. It never was going to do it, because our feelings of happiness are always coming through thought, not circumstances. So I would say that seeing that happiness doesn't come with circumstances or with a man or with anything. Happiness comes from within you. And that's quite freeing if you understand it properly, because then you don't need to wait for anything. You can let go of your circumstances. You can let life just flow how it flows. And the happiness will come back anyway. It's always going to come back. But if we're waiting for something to change and until we can be happy, then we're always stuck in a negative thought pattern.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's kind of like all these different criteria have to stack up. So, of course, we then spend all our time focusing on that thing, that kind of external thing that we need to get in line. And then when it is in line and we're not getting all these euphoric feelings that we were expecting to, we're like, oh, it must be another external thing and another external thing and a bigger external thing. And all the while, we're not actually thinking that maybe it's not the external things at all. Even though like evidence shows that it's not the external things, we still kind of like, it's easy to get caught up in that idea that it is those things. Because like, socially, TV adverts, everything is like is around this whole idea that we need all these different things in our lives, and then tick, we're going to be happy. And I think in some ways it's actually quite a good thing to have that bubble burst and kind of have all those things and then go, oh, okay, it isn't that. So what is it? And then turn around and go, well, actually, it might be a bit simpler than we're thinking. And that depth of feeling is available to us much more easily than we realise. I mean, I think little moments speak volumes for the direction of where our happiness could be. For example, just feeling a bit of relief or release when you have a bath or watch your favourite TV programme or go for a walk, or perhaps in an unexpected way, you were dreading an event, going to an event, or dreading a situation, and then you went and it was actually really good fun, or you suddenly felt really fulfilled and alive. And this is just moments where you haven't got any expectations of anything giving you something, and you're just really in the moment and you're really loving it, and you suddenly get filled up with all these amazing feelings because you're just literally resting in the moment, and you're just releasing that expectation of, oh, that thing's going to make me happy, or whatever it is, and then all that thinking around that external thing isn't in the way, basically, of the feelings of well-being and ease and connection that are actually there for you when you let them in.
Yeah, it's so true. It's like that. It's like what I'm hearing in the message that she's written is that she thinks there's something that needs to be done, and often that's the wrong way to look, because if we're trying to access this feeling of happiness, it's like, I remember at times with boyfriends, it's like, oh, I'm not feeling too great with him at the moment, so we need to talk about this. Obviously, we need to talk and sort it out and like go into the problem as if the problem is coming from him or the flat or the work that she's going through. Like, and we need to do something about it because our happiness depends upon it. But actually, the best thing to do when you're not feeling great is, because you understand that your feelings aren't coming from anywhere else apart from your thoughts in that moment. So your feeling of happiness and anger and joy and love and peace and frustration, all of them coming through thought in that moment. When you realise that, there is nothing to change. There is nothing to change. And in trying to change the outside, we get so stuck in the idea that the thing needs to change. And then when that thing changes, well, we're still not happy. And we're waiting to be happy. But if we do nothing about it, like, don't talk about it. She said that she mentioned that she's venting about work, and I understand that we need to be able to express ourselves and be honest about what's going on, but work cannot create unhappiness. Only thinking can create unhappiness. So when going over and over and over and over the same problem and talking, it's like you can really wind yourself up. So I would suggest, because she said, is there anything that we can do about, dealing with venting at work? Try not venting, like, to each other. Like, try and decide that letting the situation go, it will sort itself out anyway. And in the process of going, it's kind of like that, you've just got to go, fuck it, I'm not going to worry anymore. Like, it's happening, what's the point in worrying? It's that kind of, okay. And you just relax in that moment. Just, okay, well, so what? So what? And then just allow that so whatness to be and try and live now. Like, be there now, be there with him. Like, comment on something funny you heard that day. I mean, this is all stuff to do. You don't actually need to do anything. But when we take the attention away from the problem, it's like that when if we've got like a cut on our body, we don't spend all our time looking at that cut, putting a needle and a thread through it to heal it up. We don't examine it. We don't worry about it. We just know that it's going to heal. So, and we definitely don't sit there worrying about the cut and then getting our fingers in the cut and trying to sort out the cut. We just know instinctively that the cut is going to sort itself out. We have no panic around it. And that's the same with life and circumstances at work, and also circumstances in relationships. We do have up and down times, but by needing to do something about it in order to change it is like going in with the cut and fiddling around. It's like it will heal quicker and much easier if we pull our attention away from it.
Yeah, I love that analogy actually. It's like if we trusted our own minds to correct as much as we trusted our bodies to, then I think things would be much different. We kind of intuitively know that our body has that intelligence and will heal, and the cut will heal by itself. But we don't have that trust with our minds, and so that's when things can go a bit wrong. I think when this idea of the kind of bringing stuff home from work, I can really relate to. I was seeing someone who would come home and always talk about his boss that he really didn't like, and it would always be around difficulties with his boss. He'd be feeling upset, angry, and then he'd come home and then we'd both be trying to kind of work this situation out. Like, if we discuss it, if we really get into this problem, then somehow we're gonna actually come up with a solution, or somehow something's going to change in this situation. And of course it just ended up being we both felt really crap and nothing had changed. We just kind of gone round in circles and nothing has changed. And there's that temptation to kind of like, oh, if you're feeling crap, to like talk about it more and really try and get into it and work it out. And that's kind of, yeah, that's like going into the cut. That's kind of going, oh, let's just forest around in here and let's see if we can find a solution. But it doesn't work when we're using this kind of clouded thinking to solve something, because we're just using habitual thought. There's nothing new, there's nothing fresh able to come in. It's worth noting that when we were both in that feeling bad about his work situation, it wasn't actually coming from that work situation. It was, he was spending his days at work mistakenly attributing his feelings of frustration and anger to his boss, then probably relaxing about it for an hour or so, coming back home and then getting into it again and recycling all that tension and thinking. But he was only ever generating it within himself, and it was never coming from his boss. We both thought it was this external thing, this kind of foe that we needed to work out a strategy to either like avoid or overcome or whatever, change our lives around this difficult individual, rather than realizing that someone else in the company thought he was a really nice guy. Someone else didn't have that thinking about him, this difficult boss. Someone else thought he was the best boss ever. And when we forget that, we can kind of create monsters out of basically our own thought patterns. And the great thing to know is that because they are an illusion, because they are just a pattern of thinking, they don't actually exist, in that we are only ever feeling our thoughts in the moment. We're not, these don't actually exist in terms of thinking about that they're being created by that person or that situation. And because it's an illusion, it can shift in an instant. However, it doesn't actually matter however long it's been, that pattern perhaps has been like driving you. Because it's an illusion, it can drop at any time. I think a classic example is, you know, if you're having a big argument with your boyfriend, and then, I don't know, a fire alarm goes off, or you get a phone call, or there's just some kind of disruptive thing, like you're like really laughing, or something disrupts you, and you start to laugh, and it's just like, literally there's that fresh moment, and you wouldn't have expected a couple of minutes before that the next minute you'd be laughing or suddenly thinking something completely different. And that's a good example that we're actually much freer than we realise, and we're only keeping ourselves in our cages. Nothing has the power to do that to us.
Yes, that is so true. I'm so glad you pulled up on that, because that is it. We think that we're going to feel the way we are now forever. Like, we always, like, when I'm in this ecstatic mood, and I could just be driving to work, something that I wouldn't be, you know, if you'd asked me, do you like driving to work? No, probably not. I know I'm going to spend 9 hours there, like, if you'd asked me just on a random day. But there's days that I'm driving to work and I am on fire. Like, and I am, like, literally, like, I am amazing. The world is amazing. Everything is great. And then the next day, I'm like, oh no, I've got work. Work is the problem. You know, if I didn't have this job, why should I go to work? You know, what is this kind of slave labour world that we're all living in? Blah, 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 blah. And it's like we attribute the feeling of happiness or annoyance to the work, just like we do with any circumstance. And when we're in that moment, we feel like this is it forever. I'm going to feel like this forever. It's not that we consciously think that, but we do kind of think, like, something needs to happen now, something needs to change, because if it doesn't change, this is my life and I hate this life. Or when we're really happy, it's like, I'm going to be here forever. I've sorted it. It's all amazing. Everything's going to be great. And so when we see that, like, really from a bird's eye view, it's always changing. And so in terms of this circumstance, this situation, like, realising that nothing needs to change, like nothing with you and your boyfriend, nothing with you and your work, unless it's going to come of a real natural occurrence, like a real obvious way through. And if you don't see how it's going to happen yet, like worrying and stressing about it will not make it any quicker, and you won't see it any clearer any quicker. So it's quite nice that you can just relax, and in you relaxing, the energy changes. Your energy will change, and your boyfriend will pick up on that, and then, you know, he'll just feel a lot more relaxed himself, and we just start feeling a bit more free. It will just lighten the situation. What if you didn't have to change anything? That's what I would say to this reader, this writer, is like, what if you don't need to change anything? What if it's all going to sort itself out and you have no responsibility or no burden on you to change it? Like, it's going to work out anyway.
I'm just imagining people go, yeah, but it's not that easy. And I can relate to that, because when you are lost in it, it does feel like it's going to go on forever, and because you haven't broken the link before, like, why should you now? And it's kind of a bit easy to get, oh, now it's gone forever. But you had those amazing feelings for that person originally, and when you realise that actually all of that is within you and available to you, regardless of how the other person is behaving, it kind of takes the pressure off the relationship that he's got to be a certain way, or you've got to be in a good mood. It takes the pressure off, because there aren't any criteria, there aren't any circumstances, and it's like there's more space to have those lighter feelings. There's kind of, by knowing that they're there anyway, and there's such a depth of love and connection that's only ever been generated through your thoughts, the way we experience life, that is completely independent of circumstances and how he is. And when you start to see that, and you realise that happiness is actually closer than you think and independent of the other person, you can just give the other person a break and give yourself a break, and it all just becomes a bit lighter and easier. And I would say it might not happen overnight or everything's going to shift together, but notice those moments where it starts to feel lighter, and perhaps you'll realise that actually mental health and happiness is actually much closer than you think, and is available to you more easily, and it will start to move and shift. And I think we have both experienced this in our life, having struggled with extreme anxieties and difficult emotions, and I think we're both completely overwhelmed at how much joy there is available to us, and how it isn't dependent on any kind of circumstance.
Yeah. Definitely amazing stuff, because, and it's a deepening, it's not a give me the 5-step understanding on how to get this quick. It's like circumstances just haven't seemed that bad anymore, whereas, and that just shows we are meaning making machines. Like the meaning of a circumstance being good or bad comes from us. It doesn't come from the circumstance. So in every single, like the matter outside of our bodies, the world out there, it's all neutral. How we perceive it is how we will, is where the generation of the meaning is coming. So some people might look at your situation and think you've got it spot on, like, you know, I'd love to be in that circumstance. And other, because they're always thinking that theirs is bad or theirs is good. And when we see that there's no good or bad, life just becomes peaceful. And circumstances, it can't be that all my circumstances have been great since this understanding. It must be that my mind is changing, that my understanding of life is that it is neutral, and that there is happiness everywhere, and that there is so much to be grateful for, and there's so much love and abundance and happiness in each moment. If we're not caught up on what our conditioned brains are saying is right or wrong. And just some comfort on this relationship, this stage of the relationship. It's like you've moved in together. That's like you know, it is a new circumstance. It's a new way of being. You're not sure what's going on. But what holds relationships down is not this exciting, drug-fueled, ecstatic passion that you have. That's not the real part of love. That's like it's like a sugar rush. It's like the beginning part, and that's lovely. That's what bonds you. But the real, you know, what people, you know, marriages that go on for years, it's got to do with a deep respect and connection with another person in all that's good and bad. So just because you're having a miffed time, it doesn't say anything about you or him or the relationship. It's just a stage. And so you can relax. Like life is full of 1,000 flavours. And allowing the bad flavours to be there too, it seems to dissolve them. The more you can accept them, it seems to just dissolve them. And then the new ones and the happy ones come through. Because emotions aren't bad. They just are what they are. I think it's all like the only thing that keeps coming up for me in this is just like, what if you don't need to do anything about any of it? And you can just think, well, what if this is actually okay? And you can sit back and just go, all right, whatever comes your way, it's fine.
And what if you can ignore that urgent feeling that's like, yes, but I need to sort this out now?
Yeah, exactly that. Ignore the urgency of it. Just, it's like a surrender. I mean, there's no way of doing this. There's no technique. It's like, and everyone can relate to it, where there's been a point in their life where they had zero control, and they've just had to go, okay. And then actually, it's a relief. Because the only thing that's trying to control is the ego. It's the mind that says it's not going to be okay. It's that fearful, what if I don't do it? If this happens, the worst can happen. You know, we might split up. My work, I might have a breakdown, or like, or whatever it is. Like, if I don't do this, then this will happen. You know, all that stuff. It's not really real. It's just in the mind.
Yeah. I loved what you were saying. Life's got 1,000 flavours or something. I thought that was beautiful. Yeah, so we'd love to know like what your feedback is. I know we're not doing the traditional coaching thing of giving you like 5 top tips to sort your life out, but we don't want to, because that's again just giving you 5 things out there to tick off your to-do list, and we both sort of kind of feel really strongly that actually that's quite a disempowering thing, and it's gonna, however perhaps empowering the tip might be, it's still defining your happiness and your self-worth on something external, something out there, and tapping into the illusion, like feeding the illusion that there is better than here, and something there has got something that here and now doesn't have, and we're just really passionate about sharing just the absolute richness of what is available to us here and now, and hoping to share that with you and open your eyes to that, even if it's just glimpses, but opening your eyes to that and looking in that direction, it starts to expand and develop, and you get a real nourishment from that sense of being in the moment. So yeah, we'd love to hear what your thoughts are, and if it all sounds like gobbledygook, please do let us know that as well. But yeah, feedback, good and bad, would be fantastic. I think that's it for now, isn't it, today, Lucy?
Yeah, lovely to speak to you again.
Speak to you soon.
And if you'd like to contact us, our email addresses are lucy@lucyforlife.com and jo@jo-monday.com. Thanks very much.